What's going on, guys? Welcome into the first episode of the Cup Check, presented to you by Student Union Sports. Your host, myself, Johnny Rombos, and we've got Andy Jones
How's it
and
going?
Clemson Carl here with me tonight.
What's up?
This is the first episode, the Cup Check. It's a great name. We got great guys here doing it. We got a great producer in the booth presenting our show for you. Fellas, how are y'all doing tonight?
Magical Thursday night, so boring. That's about it.
Yes. Second day classes, so as well as you can be, right?
I dropped out of GCU, so I don't have classes yet. I'm living the life.
That sounds nice. I'm a seventh-year senior in undergrad, so it should be pretty interesting. Carl's going to be a doctor before maybe I finish my undergrad. So
also seventh year, though, so we've been in college the same amount of time, same amount of experience on campus, so, you can't hate.
Good college experiences. So today for topics, we're going to talk about Urban Meyer a little bit, the quarterback battle at Clemson, Des Bryant, the NFL new helmet rules, which don't get me started just yet, and then the best conference, and maybe a little couple quick hitters at the very end. So, fellas, my guys, my confidants, my brothers, are we ready to dive in this?
Hell yeah.
Well, let's go. I'll give you guys the floor to start with. Let's talk a little bit about Urban Meyer, the situation. Was he suspended long enough? Were the accusations real? I mean, I want to hear what you guys got to say.
No, Urban Meyer is hands down a scumbag.
Yeah.
There's two ways that this should have went. It's either, one, we found out that everything that Courtney Smith said is a lie. Urban did everything that he should have. He reported when he should have. He did everything right. He's clean. He's safe. No suspension. He's right back. Or, everything that we saw from Brett McMurphy was true, and he should have been fired. I don't understand a 3-game suspension. The whole episodal memory loss induced by medicine that he takes, whatever, that's bullshit. He says he remembers every fucking play from every game, every SEC championship game he played in.
Yeah.
The guy makes up stories time in and, every single time he has a chance, he makes up a story that makes him seem a little bit better. His school buys it, and he's been getting away with it for way too long. He should have been axed.
I think he's. Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
No, you're good, Andy. I was just saying I'm all in on the episodal memory losses that literally every time I've done anything wrong, I'm pulling the Urban syndrome where I just forget things. Like, oh, I called you a cunt last night. I have this episodal thing where I do things and I just don't remember them. I apologize. It's essentially blacking out and not remembering anything. I mean, this is the new greatest excuse of all time. An episodal attack where you stop remembering important parts of your life that you do bad things in. Like you had sex with a 10 last night. You remember that.
Oh, hell yeah.
But you got in a fight that's bad.
Urban.
Yeah, I'm going to the doctors tomorrow. I'm getting diagnosed with that. It's a fail-safe for the rest of my life.
Good. Cool. I have the episodal memory loss. But Andy, go ahead. What were you going to say, brother?
I mean, really the only thing, he is a scumbag. I think he knew everything. He should be suspended for at least half the season, not the 3 games. Ohio State Twitter was going after everyone, saying that it should have been a 1-game suspension. That why does he have to miss Oregon State, Rutgers, and TCU? It's just bullcrap. And the whole episodal thing, I've taken, I had knee surgery. I took the heaviest drugs, painkillers that you could get, and I still remember shit. And he was like, I took Tylenol and I forgot my daughter's name. How does that happen? It's just, I think he didn't forget his Papa John's order, so he did not forget everything that happened. And that's all I got to say about that.
He went with the Alex Jones excuse. You remember when Alex Jones? You remember that? Remember when he said he couldn't remember his kid's eye color because he had a big bowl of chili?
Alex Jones, listen. The Tylenol is turning frogs gay, let's be honest. Saying that, anytime you have to compare a bowl of chili and Alex Jones to forgetting your daughter's eye color to Ohio State's brand and forgetting your daughter's name because of Tylenol, that's not a good thing. That is a very bad comparison. You don't want to make that. You're on Alex Jones level right now, Urban Meyer. So, touche. Basically, the unpopular opinion is that Urban's only be suspended 3 games. Nobody likes it on Twitter. But have we really sought the fact that this may be a little bit of a fabricated story? I mean, Courtney Smith's own mother came out and said that she heard she wanted to take Urban Meyer and Zach Smith down with her. You know what I'm saying? This is a person that we're trusting a source on. Her sent text messages to Brett McMurphy, who also was looking for a job right now. At the time, he was looking for a job, which he shopped it on Facebook. The story has apparently been shopped. She created this entire thing by sending the text messages. She knew what she was doing. And I'm just saying, at the same time, if the accusations are true, which they might as well could be, but you just don't want to base it all on one source being that person. Like this whole sources thing is crazy to me. The A.J. Johnson situation at Tennessee. A girl claimed rape 3 years ago. Okay, it ruined his career. It sent him out of the NFL. He was gone for 3 years. It tarnished his legacy. He just now, 3 years later, got proven innocent, and he has signed a 3-year deal with the Broncos. I'm not saying the situation is like that, but to put all your trust in one source whose own mother came back and said, I heard her say, I want to take Urban Meyer and Zach Smith down. I mean, that's your own mother. That's your blood. You know what I'm saying? Like, that to me is a little ridiculous.
That's totally fair. And, for situations where that happened and people get proven innocent, I really feel for them. There should be a way to rectify that. The problem is that in this scenario, everything that has come out has never been denied or proven false. Every time it's been another situation of, oh, wow, Urban actually did know this part too. Urban failed to report. Urban didn't ever disclose the whole domestic violence thing the first time when Zach Smith was getting vetted on his background check at Ohio State. He lied at media day. There's just been so many fishy things around the situation that it's hard for me to believe that it's completely fabricated. Maybe Courtney Smith did go a little harder than she should have. Maybe there's a lot more of, it could be an entire revenge tour, but at the same time, there's merit to it. There's no doubt about that.
I do agree.
It's almost like a game of telephone where it's like once you get one phrase, like how it was, it got fabricated all the way down the line till the very end. That's kind of what it seems like right now.
Yeah, and if Zach Smith did hit her, which it looks like it did, and he's claiming self-defense, and he's saying this, and her own mother said it was in self-defense. It's just your own mother going against you for no other reason than to go against you just seems fishy to me. But at the same time, Urban was suspended 3 games. Ohio State did an internal investigation. They either found nothing or they stuck with one of the greatest college football coaches of all time strictly because they were winning. And if they did that, then fuck Ohio State.
Yeah, why did he delete text messages? Why did he do everything fishy that he did is my point. But yes, what it came down to was Ohio State has donors to please. They have to win football games, and they know that the worst thing for their football team right now is to fire their head coach. And, that's going to ruin recruiting for the future and everything. And they had to keep him around. They gave him 3 games, and that's a slap on the wrist. And maybe more things come out and they fire him down the road, but just now wasn't the time. They had to keep him around.
So if anything's going to happen, it's going to be after the season. If they win a championship, God forbid, I'm going to kill Anthony from our site because he's not going to show about it. But I think that it will have an asterisk on it because everyone knows Urban should have been fired. Everyone knows this whole entire team, well, not the team, but the coaching staff or Urban should be under investigation still. So I think if they do have a great season or anything, there's going to be asterisks with it.
See, and Andy, I'm not arguing. I'm playing a little bit of devil's advocate here. But how are you going to take away with what the players did on the field? These guys are out here grinding and working every day. They weren't the coaches. They weren't an ex-fire coach, and that sucks for them. It's really just a bad situation overall. You know what I'm saying? Like, that stinks.
As a player, as a fan, why do you should be on the same side. Let's get rid of this guy that has all these allegations against him. Let's make sure that we go through a season that isn't tarnished. We prove it was all us. It never had anything to do with this scumbag that clearly should not be leading young adults to do anything. Just get rid of him and let's move on. We could win these games without Urban Meyer. Prove that. That's as a player, as a fan. That's how I feel. Ohio State's fan.
It's like
thought process should be right there.
On Twitter with all the players and ex-players posting stuff about him only getting a 3-game. Like I think it was Michael Thomas posted a photo of them after they won the national championship saying, "Let's go." Like you're supporting how he only got a 3-game suspension after he knew everything. That's why I think it's kind of tarnished.
The last thing was, did you see his statement when they asked him, do you have anything to say to Courtney Smith after this whole process and whatever, right after the final verdict came out?
I didn't.
I did not.
His response was, okay, I actually have something to say for everyone. I'm sorry we had to go through this situation. Nothing to say. I apologize to Courtney Smith. I am so sorry that you had to go through all of this. Everything that we, as a coaching staff, as a university brought upon you, no mention of it. Just an entire sorry that as a whole, you and I and everybody at Ohio State had to go through this.
Now, you know who's a guy who's never going to get in any this trouble like that is Dabo Sweeney. Okay. Let's be honest. Dabo's not doing that. Multiple pastors have come out and said Dabo is the real deal. He's a good guy. He's a guy you want around your players. I mean, he's baptizing guys in the offseason. But this offseason has been a little bit different for him with Kelly Bryant and Trevor Lawrence and even Chase Bryce a little bit battling for that starting spot, which Dabo's continuously said that it's going to be a two-quarterback system, maybe playing 3 quarterbacks throughout the year. So watching this unfold, I've never, Deshaun Watson, Cole Stout, and Chad Kelly was an interesting quarterback battle. But this one much more intriguing because Kelly did lead the Clemson football team last year to a playoff. So what's y'all's take on that? Who's a starter?
I mean, as kind of the QB guy, Bryant obviously knows how to play well. He kicked ass last year. I mean, yeah, they didn't do that well towards the end, but what did you expect? I think 2 quarterback systems never work out. Like, you think they're going to be great. You think it's going to be awesome having a new guy in after every other series, but it's not going to work out in the end. Bryant's going to play week 1. I think he's going to do great. But then week 2, when they play Texas A&M, my team, on game day, especially in front of a national crowd, I think Bryant, if he has a hiccup or two, Lawrence he's going to jump on that. I think he's going to take over after that, and it's going to be the Trevor Lawrence era over at Clemson.
No, you pretty much nailed what I was going to say. That's the turning point of the season. If Kelly Bryant completely handles Texas A&M, we're up by 15 in the by halftime. That's it. He takes over the season. We're not looking back because there's really no one else on the schedule that we can really falter to, and that's what it's going to come down to. Trevor Lawrence, Kelly Bryant has to play a really bad first half to give Trevor Lawrence the opportunity to really take over as a starter. Otherwise, it's going to be he'll get some reps, no doubt, just because we'll be winning and we're going to give the young guys some experience. But it won't be anything like, oh, Kelly Bryant, your job's on the line now that Trevor Lawrence is going in. It's just it's his job to lose, basically.
Yeah.
And it stinks because Kelly, coming in after Deshaun, between the Deshaun Watson era and the Trevor Lawrence era, I mean, it's a really tough place to be in. You know what I'm saying? It stinks because Kelly Bryant is such a likable guy. He's such an easy guy to like. But Trevor, I've watched practices a couple times. Like I'm covering Clemson this season, and I've watched. I mean, he's a better thrower of the football. And straight line speed, he's actually faster, which is a very slept-on fact. A lot of people don't know. He's actually faster straight line speed than Kelly Bryant. But Kelly Bryant knows the protections. He knows the offense better. There's a couple things that Kelly's better at, but vertical passing and short game are Trevor's bread and butter, and that's what sets up Clemson offense. So I'm kind of in the situation you guys are in. I think that the Furman game, the first game of the season, that they'll continue to play 2 quarterbacks. I think at the Texas A&M game, they'll maybe continue to play 2, which is going to hurt our momentum because quarterbacks kind of have to develop a momentum, get a stride a little bit. But I think they're going to continue to play 2 quarterbacks into the season until they figure out finally how it plays out. And I think it's going to take some time because they're both great quarterbacks. Kelly may end up playing on an NFL team one day strictly because of just how great of a runner he is. Guys take chances on guys like that in the NFL. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Terrell Pryor got a job.
There's no doubt.
Yeah. Exactly. You take your chances on athletes that are quarterbacks. You just do it. It's a thing that's happened in the NFL for years now. It's going to happen again.
Yeah. And the last thing I have to say about it is even if Lawrence somehow takes over Bryant's spot, I think there's a slim possibility just because, he's been with Clemson and Clemson's had his back. He could possibly transfer, but I don't see it happening. I think if Lawrence does take over, Bryant, his last year may transfer as a graduate. But other than that, I think he's going to ride or die with this team just because of what he went through last year.
Is he a junior this year or a senior?
I think he's a junior.
I thought he was a senior this year.
He's a fifth year senior.
I lied. So never mind. This is that ride or die.
He's ride or die. He's sticking with the program.
No, the only thing that scares me a little bit is, we saw Kelly Bryant in the playoffs last year, and unless he has significantly improved, I don't see him being a quarterback that can win a national championship. With our schedule, there's no doubt in my mind he can lead us to 13-0 into the playoffs, but is his ceiling as high as Trevor Lawrence's? Probably not. So as a Clemson fan, I hope that Trevor Lawrence gets that chance to take over the starting job sometime, halfway through the season at least, so that by the playoffs we have the better chance of winning it all. But either way, we're making it, and the only thing that might kind of hold us back is if Kelly Bryant hasn't improved enough to be the guy that leads us, but he takes us there. That's where we could stagnate again.
And Dabo's going to name the starter on Monday, so the depth chart will officially come out. Naming the starter does nothing. Kelly Bryant, bet the farm. Kelly Bryant's going to be named the starter. He has improved his vertical passing game and his short passing game, but enough to hold off Lawrence. We'll see. We'll see into the season. But another interesting topic that we kind of need to talk about, Carl, this is kind of one of your big takes on Twitter I've seen you talk about. We talked about in the Slack, the helmet rule. Hitting people with your head down, the form tackling. I kind of want to hear your take. Let the people hear about your take on it.
No, my problem is not my problem is the way it's been being called, because they have not been adhering to the rules. A lot of times you see somebody in the open field, they have their face mask straight up, they wrap up, and there's maybe a little bit of incidental contact near the head, and they call the penalty. That is wrong. The way the rule is written, that is as long as the player does not intentionally lower the head so that the crown is the initial impact, then it's not a penalty, right? It's the only dangerous part is leading with your head. And I think that anybody who's played the sport knows that every coach tells you hit with your head up, run through the tackle. So there's nothing wrong with them saying, okay, now we are officially making this an illegal hit. If you lower your head, you're endangering yourself. You're endangering the player you're trying to hit. And that's illegal now, just like tripping, just like horse collar. It's a new illegal way to tackle, and it's just, it's a culture shock because all the jacked up ESPN, SportsCenter hit highlights and everything, we looked for big hits. We wanted to see someone get ear-holed and knocked into, tomorrow. But that's just not the way the game should be played. That has nothing, that's not beneficial for the longevity of the game. We already have mothers and parents that don't want their kids playing football because of the risk of injury and CTE and everything that's coming out. The rule is there. It's there for a reason. People just need to adjust, and the referees need to just be better at calling it, I think, is the real big problem.
Yeah, I don't hate the rule. I actually love it, just because with my experience with football, I've had I've had like 4 or 5 concussions. I wrote an article on CTE, so I'm scared shitless about it. It's for the protection of the players and for the game. Now, the way that's being called is bullcrap, yes, because these refs just seeing every big hit possible, and they think, oh, a little bit of crown's involved, I'm going to throw the flag. Like, I think it was the Chargers-Cardinal game. It was a clean hit on the Cardinals player. I mean, his head was down a little bit, but it was up enough where he's looking up, the face mask hits the guy, and they're still going to call it just because it was a violent hit. And you don't want to have the VP of officiating calling you into his office next day because you didn't call that play. But I just think it's for the protection of the players. Twitter hates it, but half of the people on Twitter have never played a down of football in their goddamn life. They don't understand the fear of CTE. They don't understand how many times you can get injured just putting on the helmet pads and going out to the field. It's a dangerous-ass game. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen. It's for the protection of the players. That's why I like it. I don't hate it.
People love violence. That gets people going. It's been since the history of man. The Roman Colosseum, every sport that people enjoy, people go UFC, they want to see blood and violence, but it's just not the way football was originally intended to be. All these, studies show that there's ways to make the game safer and still pretty much keep its core values.
Are you taking football out of football? I mean, imagine if, football has been a violent sport. It's been a violent sport for 40 to 50 years. People getting injured. Boxing has been a violent sport. When football was
invented, do you think anyone lowered their head? They didn't have helmets. If you lowered your head, that was a skull fracture. You were dead.
No,
right?
Well,
the invention of helmets became a weapon, right?
Well, yeah, but so the UFC, you started off as bare knuckles, beating each other up. So they put on gloves. You put on helmets. You started wearing pads. What I'm saying is, I'm a huge UFC junkie, man. And so a little bit in my opinion, when you're playing the sport, you are risking your injuries. Same with boxing. If you box for 20 to 30 years, you're probably going to end up with Parkinson's. I mean, it's one of those things. Studies show the more you get hit in the head, the worse it is for you. But who's out there calling for boxing to quit boxing? Or who's out there calling for a UFC to quit fighting? I mean, it's like, to me, it's taking football out of football a little bit. Sometimes when you do lower the crown, you're not supposed to. But if a guy's coming straight in a slant, you're running a slant, and a guy, the only way he can do it, physically adjusting his body in midair when he's leading with his shoulder, but his shoulder hits, but his crown's led. Dude, calling that a penalty is, that's taking football out of football, man. I know you're leading with your crown, but you're hitting with your shoulder. So that's the only way you can stop that pass from being completed, and to call it penalty on that. So an interesting, this offseason, one of the more interesting storylines has been the Dez Bryant situation. He's 29. He still has years left. He's still got juice left in him. But is he too much of a locker room cancer to sign with a team? To even play at a veteran, for a team to take a chance on him at a veteran's minimum, would anybody sign him? I mean, why not? Would you sign him?
I mean, I think yes, just because he's the playmaker. He's not as how am I trying to say this? As exciting as he was when he was younger with Tony Romo on the Cowboys and everything. But he's still probably better than half of the younger or rookie receivers you have on your team. Sign him to a veteran's minimum. If he's that much of a cancer, release him in the middle of the goddamn season. Season for 5-6 games. If he's really that bad, trade him away. Get rid of his contract. Pay him out. Just do whatever you have to. I think that he should have taken the deal with the Browns, I think it was, right? Did they offer him?
He went to Hard Knocks. Yeah, he went to. It was on Hard Knocks episode 3. He went there. To me, it looked like a little bit of a publicity stunt. No contract was offered. No contract was signed.
Okay. Yeah, I'm too poor for HBO anyway. I just think he should just sign with any team. Like, to be perfectly honest, just whatever team wants him. If he's gonna keep bitching and moaning on Instagram or Twitter about people telling him to do this or do that, dude, just sign with the team. Get it over with. The season's about to start next week.
No, I mean, I agree with you 100%. I think he's kind of like Terrell Owens. There's nobody that's ever watched the sport of football will say that he's not one of the best wide receivers in the league. It's just the fact that he's a head case, and if he's a locker room cancer, you have to decide if it's worth it. So it comes down to, do you have a team that you already feel is a playoff contender? Because then you don't need to make a wild move like this. But if you're someone like the Browns who's completely revamping their lineup and you're starting from scratch, maybe you take the chance. We'll see how it plays out. Basically, none of the teams that you're hoping to get him are going to get him. If he does play, it's going to be, someone on that won 6 or less games last year that's really just reaching for something to, turn things around.
Personally, I think going to the Jacksonville Jaguars would be a perfect fit for him.
That's actually the team I was thinking of. That's funny.
It's perfect. Well, Allen Robinson went to the Bears. They don't really have, to me, a number one guy right now. I saw Marquise Lee might be their guy. Like, dude, he's not a great football player. He's a good enough receiver, but Blake Bortles needs a target. He's a big target. Yeah. I think the first situation would be Jacksonville, man. They're already a good team. They got a good defense. Their offense is a little lackluster. I think he's a perfect fit in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I only didn't say it out loud because I started going off on it. It's got to be a 6 or less win team from last year, but they're an exception because their offense is in rebuild. They're an exception. We're going to throw that in the mix.
That works.
Moving on to closing the show out with a little more college football talk. And this is where bias is going to come into play, and everybody shits on everybody. And it's the same argument every year, but which football conference is the best in 2018?
I mean, 2018-wise, it's going to be the Big Ten this year. I personally think I'm SEC and Pac-12. Pac-12 sucks. They're going to have Stanford and Washington. And SEC, it's going to be Bama, Georgia, Auburn. But they're not that good. I think the Big Ten has the most stacked teams. You have Michigan State, Ohio State. You have Iowa potentially. You have Penn State. I don't know why I was going to say Rutgers because I'm an idiot, but they suck like always. And you potentially have Michigan. So,
Wisconsin. You've got.
I wrote about them. I totally forgot. You have almost 5-6 teams that could potentially get 8, 9, 10 wins. It just depends.
Here's my problem with calling the Big Ten the best conference. You're going to have to admit that Rutgers is a good football team because they're going to steal. They're going to steal 4 wins in that conference this year. And then if they steal 4 wins, you're going to have to turn around and say Rutgers is no longer a joke. And as I'm a Rutgers alumni. They're still a joke. There's no reason they're a good football team. They're going to steal 4 wins, though, and it's because the Big Ten's a joke. The best conference, it's got to be between the ACC and the SEC. Both of them have been neck and neck for a while. Florida State had a little hiccup last year, but they're going to be right back in the mix. Miami's back. Virginia Tech, Louisville, they're all always dangerous teams. They do well in bowl season. Obviously, Clemson's gonna win the national championship, so that'll throw.
That's a given. That's a given.
Yeah, it's just a given, so that's a little more merit to my.
Place the future bet now. Place the future bet now.
Check Clemson Carl on Twitter because the future bet's been made. I'm going to be caking it in January.
So, but I would probably go with the SEC if we're being honest. I'd probably go Big Ten 2 and ACC 3. I think the ACC's has a potential to be 2 or 1. But I just think Miami needs to prove a little bit more. NC State could potentially be good, but the SEC is so top heavy with their top 2, 3, 4 teams.
Yeah,
it's like their top 2 teams and 3 teams are gonna probably beat whoever they want to beat. They're good, okay. And the ACC to me has the best contender in Clemson to match up with those people. You know what I'm saying? Pac-12 is obviously 5th, Big 12's 4th. You know, I mean, just although I think Southern Cal is going to be interesting if JT Daniels winds up starting this year. That kid is a freak. His film's amazing.
Crazy.
He's so good. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, him and Justin Fields in the same quarterback class is an unbelievable quarterback class.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll probably never see 3 guys like that come out of the same quarterback class, maybe ever again.
Underrated, topic that people aren't talking about is the Georgia quarterback situation. That kid, I don't even remember his name, but whoever. Yeah, Justin Fields. He's gonna pop off, and people that's slept on.
I think Fromm deserves it. I mean, he worked for it last year. I think he's still going to be a starter, at least for the rest of the season.
Right, but isn't that the same Kelly Bryant situation, right? Like, if Fromm does slip up in a big game, that's Justin Fields' chance to take over. That's his chance to take it for the rest of the season. But if that doesn't happen, does Fromm really have the ability to win a national championship? We don't know. Yeah. It's just, I feel like it's the same exact scenario, but no one's talking about it nearly as much.
It's because when your fans get on something, when you have a guy behind you that no one knows how good he really is. His ceiling right now is the roof. I mean, it's it's as Michael Jordan would say, the
ceiling is
and you don't. Yeah, the ceiling is the roof. You know what I'm saying? So you don't know how good this guy is. So it's so intriguing to be like, man, this guy, like, oh, Jake Fromm throws 3 picks in a game and we're down 10. Like, well, what does Smart do? He's just, well, we can throw in Jake Fromm, see what he does. He fucks up. Oh, well. I mean, it's kind of a win-win situation, in my opinion. You put a young guy in like that, but like you said, it's an underrated quarterback situation that hasn't been talked about near enough. I
mean, but come on, isn't that's what you're saying is probably a way safer bet than Nick Saban throwing in Tua, I can't even attempt to pronounce the last name. Over Hurts, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hurts was the guy that took him to – he won the national championship the first time, right?
No.
Was his freshman year when Clemson won it? You're right. Yeah. Okay. But anyway, he took him to it back-to-back times, and then halftime, they're like, oh, by the way, we're going to try that freshman.
I think that was a balls move by Saban to just show the country, like, my nuts still hang lower than anybody else's. I just put a true freshman in. This is called the nut tap. So we're just going to do a little quick hitters. We're going to end it for you. We're going to tap your nuts a little bit, and we're going to let it ride. Fellas, I'll give y'all the floor first.
Well, Student Union Sports, we got a Twitch stream now, so hop on Twitch. We got just search Student Union Sports, follow us. I'll be playing some Call of Duty. So we're going to get Frank and maybe myself playing some NHL. Anthony might be our Madden guy, and everybody else pretty much that writes for the site will definitely be making guest appearances.
The one thing I'm going to go with, I'm going to talk a little NFL rookie QBs. I don't think Baker Mayfield's going to play at all this season. I think Sam Darnold's going to start for the Jets, and I think that Lamar Jackson will not play for the next 2 years.
Great take. I'm going to go with the Steelers, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They decided to sign their kicker before they signed the best running back in football in the last 4 years. So they actually decided to sign a fucking kicker before they signed the all-pro running back Le'Veon Bell. Who the hell is running that organization? I know it's the Rooneys. Cut it.
I remember seeing a thing that the best odds for Bell to sign with next year, and it's the Colts, which that could be interesting with Andrew Luck.
If Andrew Luck can throw a football more than 40 yards, absolutely.
Andrew Luck, the David Wright of the NFL.
Well, hey, fellas, thank you for tuning in. Make sure to check us out. Clemson Carl, A.D. Jones, Johnny Rambos. Shout out to our producer, Leon Smith. That's a wrap for the first episode of the Cup Check.
Well, I hope your friends are ready to get fucked up.